Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for another episode of Not for Nothing. I'm here in Virginia, and I am here with somebody who I've admired and looked up to, and I'm sure a lot of people in this industry have, Mr. J.D. Crowe. I'm almost hesitant to ask you to tell people who you are, because I think if they don't fucking know, they're fucking knuckleheads. But do you want to give a little brief description of who you are? And
Yeah, J.D. Crowe started tattooing, 74 under the wing of Danny Fowler. By 76, I had my first business card. And that was almost 50 years ago now.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
And, you know, the early days, when I first started, first year was the first convention.
Yeah.
You know, which was a major convention.
Yeah.
1976 in Houston, Texas.
So now that convention was held by?
That was Dave Yerkew, out of Minneapolis. Rumor has it that, you know, early before that, there were like little gatherings.
Right.
You know, like Shipley and the guys over in Europe, the Butterfly Club.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff like that.
There's small clubs that would gather and meet. And what I had heard was Yerkew went over to see Spider Webb at a little get-together that Spider had. And Yerkew couldn't believe that tattoo artists could get together in one room and actually have a good time.
And get along.
It might have been 12,
Right.
you know, not 1,200.
Right.
And again, rumor, they're both gone, so I can't verify it. But anyways, Yerkew got the idea of putting on a convention.
And this was in
1976.
What made him pick? What made him pick Texas?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't. You know, the Shaws were there. It could have been Bob Shaw.
Right.
You know, but yeah, don't know. But the important part was that it really did bring together a bunch of Class A tattooers.
Right. Now, were you working it? Was it more of just a gathering of tattooers?
No, there was, I don't know, maybe 20 booths or something. Right. You know, but again, you know, back then tattooers went. It was their Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. You went to a tattoo convention, not the tattoo.
Yeah, the only way you saw anything was
right.
Yeah,
right. That was where you got tips and techniques and seen this and talked to, you know, you talked to Hardy about how'd you get that white in there, you know, or Paul Rogers about, you know, what about this spring tension, you know, and what depth should I run this? And, you know, it was just, that's where you got your information on tattooing. And
it was in person.
Yes. And it's pretty much stayed that way for almost the next 20-something years. You know, 1 or 2 conventions a year.
Things didn't dramatically change. I didn't see any dramatic changes until like probably mid to end late 90s.
Yes.
That's when things kind of got a little crazy.
Yeah, you know, I did 1993. I did it with Crazy Ace. We put on the Richmond show.
Right.
And that was 89. The one before it was 88 with Grandpa Groovy, which, you know, with a name like Grandpa Groovy, not many people take you serious. You know?
Back then though, it was a different thing. Although nowadays, I guess if you had that name, it would be just as much like hype around it.
Oh, of course. But at that time, you know, what I was getting at is it was a difficult thing for him to call up Ed Hardy and Mike Malone and Zeke Owen
and have them kind of
and say, hey, you know, putting on a show, you want to come on? So I kind of, because it was in Virginia and he asked me to help him out, I got on the phone and it was Paul Jeffries, Mike Malone, Ed Hardy, Lyle Tuttle. You know, like we filled that room with a bunch of named tattoo artists.
People who had reputations even back in the day.
And that, you know, set the stage for Richmond for the next, 20 years.
So
easy.
Billy and Little John took over the Richmond show first, and then it eventually just became Billy East.
Yes. 88 was Groovy, 89 was Crazy Ace and I. And Crazy Ace, we went down to New Orleans, then I kind of backed away from Ace. Crazy Ace was a great guy, but he was aptly named.
Yeah.
He was crazy. And after New Orleans, I mean, it was such a fiasco that I took my name off of anything to do with.
You wanted to be able to continue to do these shows.
Yeah, and I thought of going to Richmond again, but
To neighbor.
anyways, I thought of doing Richmond, but I thought more about traveling the country with that stuff.
Right.
So I passed the torch to Billy.
And you let Billy kind of like
Yeah.
take the reins on it.
Yeah, and he did a great thing all the way up until he passed away. It was still a good reputation show.
Richmond to me was definitely, it was a really great convention. Okay. So we left off with, sorry for the interruption. We're at your house here this is Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
So we're here in Virginia Beach. So we were talking about Richmond and Billy and those guys taking it over.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think Billy, like that was the convention for me personally when it came to small shows. Like, we'll get into, Tattoo Tour, but for the small shows, like that was kind of the show that I judged everything against because it was very small and it was just real close quarters. There wasn't a ton of booths. Everything was held in the hotel. You ate, drank, you did everything in that hotel all weekend.
And those early shows, I mean, even though that convention had 2 floors, it was just 1 floor.
Yeah, very little
they
things
put
happened.
Vendors upstairs, like T-shirt people, but and the way those rooms opened up, you just used one small part of it upstairs. So
that's what I think. Yeah, that's what added to the charm of it.
Yeah, a small, I think probably 55, 60 booths downstairs. It was the way tattoo conventions ran through the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s.
Well, because you spent 3 to 4 solid days with these people. Like it wasn't just going someplace and working. It was spending real time with these people, and you had the ability to make some money, sell some merch, trade stories, trade anything, machines.
Yeah, the best part of the conventions through those years was when the machines were put down and you ended up at the round table with Zico and Mike Malone, Scott Sterling, just all these people sitting around at night. Nobody went to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock.
No.
It was 3 or 4 in the morning. Yeah. Because you didn't want to miss anything.
So how did Tattoo Tour come up? So you walk away from Crazy Ace and...
Yeah, and I decided to go out to California and do a West Coast show. I started in LA, and it just got to be such a hassle finding a venue. And I partnered with Gil, and eventually I just kind of moved away from Gil and went down south to San Diego with Dennis. And Gil he went his own way is what happened. It was
that's when you had the Ink Slingers Ball, I guess.
Gil went to the Ink Slingers Ball. I went down south to San Diego and started Tattoo Tour in 1993.
That was the year I started.
There were no tattoo conventions that year on the continental United States of any significance. National was doing a boat cruise.
I think you also at that time, I want to say you had Mad Hatter up in Maine.
Yeah, there was, like I said, of some significance.
So to me, the first big convention I ever did was Chicago's Tattoo Tour.
Right, that was
the end of '93, I think.
That was September, I think. I did 2 that year. I did San Diego and Chicago, and eventually just went down to 1 a year. 2 a year was quite a feat.
Well, especially for a convention of that scale, because that was the first one that I had ever been to, where it did bring artists from all over the globe.
Yeah. Well, San Diego, again, because there was nothing going on, And before that, you had Yurku. He went until, I don't know, 83 or 84. National came on in 78 maybe or 7. Different show though. I mean, national conventions were like by the book, straight up, Don and Flo. You couldn't piss them off or you'd never get invited back again.
Exactly.
It was like going to your grandmother's house for dinner, you know. You wanted to make sure you washed behind your ears when you went there. They, you know, no facial piercings.
That was, okay, I forgot about that.
Look, if you were working on a face sleeve, you were out. You weren't invited in.
I forgot about that. I only attended as a fan. I guess. You know, we did 1 year tattoo out of the room the entire weekend.
Okay, well, everybody did.
Yeah.
I mean, but still, if you know, you had to take your door knocker out of your nose. You know, if you had beer cans in your ears, they had to come out. It was just, I mean, it was a straight lace tattoo.
They tried to keep everything above board, like very classy.
Yes.
Which is weird, especially in that time.
I mean, you know, you're talking about tattoo artists, you know.
Yeah.
So, what did you expect? Well, when I did Richmond, the first thing I did, I invited the Puzzle Man and Katzen and anybody, the guy with the door knocker in his nose, you know, you're all invited. And I mean, I never really went in for that whole crazy face stuff and 1,000 piercings. But, you know, these were people that were in the industry, and I mean, they went further than I would ever go.
Oh, most certainly. I think that's when, like early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, it went from being just seen in books and on Maury Povich to actually being able to see people on the streets and being able to go to one place and see it all happen.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, 93, you know, that convention, this friggin' California Highway Patrol was on the interstate directing traffic.
It was that big of a deal.
We pulled in, I think it was almost 10,000 people all weekend in and out of the place.
That's amazing.
You know, just because it was that important to tattoo people.
Yeah. Do you recall how many booths there were though? Because those always were bigger than the other ones.
You know, we had, I think in San Diego, maybe 40 booths.
Oh, still really small.
Yeah.
But I remember Chicago being
55.
much bigger. It was only 55 booths. You know what it is, being young, and that was
looked
the
big.
first. Yeah. That was I think I've been tattooing for maybe 9 months, and to go to that event and seeing all those amazing tattooers and under one roof. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about it, because I remember being there and walking around being like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And just being blown away by it.
Yeah.
But
And it wasn't just you. That was people from around the world.
I'm certain.
I had, you know, I think there was Japanese tattooing there, Tabori, South Africa, I mean, Hanky Panky and his whole, you know, entourage. I mean, just people from all over the world.
Right.
Because it was that important, you know, it was a pilgrimage for people to and remember, 2 a year, that meant you had one every 6 months or so.
Exactly.
So you had 6 months to plan.
It was 6 months to, like, literally save your pennies, make the connections with the artist, because back then you couldn't just, you couldn't Instagram or no, you couldn't even fucking email them from next.
It was all mail.
Yeah, all mail. And I met Cap Zumski there, and I got tattooed by Cap a couple of years later, and it was all it was phone call, and then it was me FedExing, you know, letters and pictures and stuff.
The good old days when a handshake really meant something.
Literally,
and you looked somebody in the eye.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So that, you know, and it's kind of stayed that way until, you know, I blame everything on the internet.
It's easy
It changed everything, you know.
It's easy to.
The iPhone, you know, if you tattooed after the iPhone came out, there's a good chance you just don't know any history.
No,
you didn't need it, you know.
That's the worst part, is you don't need it. The only people who learn it are the ones who have a genuine want to know what the fuck happened before they got into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, I grew up with heroes in this business. I looked up to people, you know.
So let's go back. Like, who were the people that you were really trying to, like, that you were most impressed by? If you did a convention, who were the ones that you knew you either wanted to see there or needed to have there?
You know, for me back then, it was important to have guys like Lyle Tuttle. to have Mike Malone, Hardy, Hanky Panky. You know, back then these people were characters in this business, you know, and it wasn't just me that looked up to them. Zeke Owen, you know, even Gilmani back then, and Shotzi. Yeah. Really, you know, back then these people were important to the industry.
Shotzi was one of those people because he was from Jersey. He was one of the people that stood out to me because he was one of the first characters that you saw in the magazines that I knew people didn't like him. I mean, there was a lot of people. Because he was like the outsider coming in.
Yeah.
And that was something I talked to him, and he knows it. Like, he don't give a fuck. I think he wears like a badge.
Well, and you know, Spider Webb, you know,
Exactly.
people like that. It was people that, you know, really contributed to the industry. You know, Jack Rudy, Good Time Charlie. These were people that were pioneers, and you know, they were the people that
they were staples that helped steer and shape the business.
Right. These people came there to see him. They came there to talk to him. They came there to, you know, listen to what Jack Rudy had to say about, you know, bug pins, you know, or what Hardy had to say about, you know, overall back piece design, you know. I mean, whatever questions you had, they had to be answered eye to eye.
And this wasn't like you didn't have to sign up for a course or a
No.
It was literally just walking up to the booth and shooting the shit.
And I say that now, today, like I tell people with this show I'm promoting in Norfolk with Mike Cam, you don't want to work. I got 60 booths. It's like the good old days. It starts on Thursday, like the good old days. 4 days of hanging out with people, and the first day, which will be Thursday, is more about just hanging out and getting together.
Connecting.
Yeah, and you know, it's artist to artist day, you know. And so back to what the people that meant something to the industry back then, those were the people I wanted in the room. And I actually started, now I did these with Dennis Dwyer, all the tattoo tour. And we started all the seminar stuff. Which never really went on before.
Chicago, it's funny when you mentioned bug pins because I took Jack Rudy's seminar in Chicago, and he was a prick. I remember being like, "So, can you tattoo this stuff?" Showing him my flash, gave this out of my flash. But it was definitely for that time, only being in the business for like 8 months, 9 months. It was definitely
and it was, you know, I had Malone and Scott and I don't know, whoever else was, you know, I can't remember. It was 30 years ago. But, you know, the seminars became an important part of the whole convention scene too. Only because that's where you got the information. Now
you go for a weekend away in Texas somewhere, and like, you know, there's
it's totally different.
All young kids basically telling you stuff that they don't know is going to last 6 years. No, I shouldn't say that. That's mean. Well, let's go into the business end of things because not for nothing, man. You're an entrepreneur between the conventions. Like, so I didn't even know of you as a tattooer back in the day because to me it was just like you know, your fucking Flash. It was Flash. It was at every fucking convention.
No, I tattooed for 20 years from 76 to the early 90s, and it was, I mean, the tattoo business was just going nuts, and it was one of the biggest growth spurts for traditional, as we knew tattooing for 100 years, was through that late 80s into the 90s. And the Flash business, I mean, when I was the first one in the world, I'm not blowing my own horn or patting myself on the back, but coming out with that full color Flash. Before that, it was black and gray.
It was the themes and stuff that you dealt with because it wasn't just about reproducing the Flash from like the earlier part of tattooing. It was literally Tasmanian devils, fucking Tweety birds. It was like keeping the Black Panthers, the roses. I mean,
solid traditional. That was my roots, and you know, I grew up tattooing, you know, Don Nolan stuff and Zeke Owens and Malone, and I mean, I wasn't much of a single needle guy, but I still had Rudy stuff around, you know. But that was the staple of tattooing for me for almost 20 years, well, an easy 15 years. And the flash went, I never did it expecting what it would turn out to be. The
Really?
first 50 sheets were stuff that I did and was hanging on my wall. Then the color copier came out and I took the shit down, put it through the copier.
Yeah, because you don't want to see the original. It's great when you go to a shop that all the work on the walls is original, but it's also one of those things worrying about what's going to happen to those originals and whether or not, especially nowadays, because things get passed down.
Yeah, but that really wasn't my thought. My thought was, there's a machine that you could run a piece of paper through and end up with something that could hang up. Before then it was just black,
Right.
You had to get it. It might take you months to get it on the wall because you had to paint it all up.
Yeah.
My stuff, man, when you open that package, 20 minutes later, it's hanging in your shop.
And you're making money off it.
Yeah. And so it just ended up turning into something so big. It started with just two of us, Lynn and myself, and I couldn't tattoo. I had to get in the back room with Lynn and work on the flash.
And it was literally just creating flash, getting stuff out there.
Non-stop every day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, seeing it, like you said, every month you had new stuff coming through the door. If you went to a convention, there was always somebody there who was kind of moving stuff,
Yeah, and again, the conventions were a big deal.
Yeah.
So all the tattooers were there. Hell, and it was a thing with Paul Jeffries. He got into doing some color stuff, and his stuff was awesome. I got every set he ever did.
Yeah.
Ken Cameron, but it was so busy with this stuff back then. We didn't count our money.
The curse of a tattoo.
We measured it. How high the stack was at the end of the show. I mean, the business was nuts. And so that's, when I actually put the machines, I actually put my tattoo machines down and said, I'm going to take a year off and concentrate on this, not knowing that the next year it was even that much
crazier.
More. Yeah. So I said, well, that 1 year felt pretty damn good. So now I'm on year 31, and it still feels good.
It's still feeling pretty good.
Tattooing less and enjoying it more.
Well, I think that's been the big thing, seeing you bounce around when you started putting the books together and then just going out. I mean, when you walk into a shop in the middle of nowhere, nobody's expecting you to be there. Everybody's kind of like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, I don't like to really kind of plan any trips, and let people know I'll be there. I did it once, and I kind of screwed the guy. I was in Providence, Rhode Island. Guy called from Danbury. Said, hey, man, can you stop by real quick? Yeah, sure. I think I can be there. I don't know. Hypothetically, I don't know the exact distance, but I can be there. It was 3. I'll be there at 5. He goes, okay, cool. He says, I close at 5, but I'll wait.
Yeah.
Well, 7 o'clock, I'm still in Providence.
Yeah, that's typical.
And I felt so bad, I said, I'll never make another appointment again.
Yeah.
So now, I walk in.
You're there, and you're there.
Yeah.
So because I think the first time you came to our shop, I missed you. I was out of the country, and everybody's like, "There's some guy here, fucking JD." I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
He's what? He's there?" And only 2 of my guys they recognize.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah.
Again, it's being recognized. I still go back to that iPhone.
Yeah.
If you started tattooing after the iPhone came out, there's a good chance you don't know who the hell I am.
Well, these are also the same people that don't work off of Flash. Everybody's a custom artiste.
And I've been thrown out of shops. And once by the seat of my pants, really, because I put up a beef with this guy. I was in New York. Go figure. But he's like, "Hey, man, we don't need anything." So
Like you're
wise ass.
bum selling.
Yeah. Oh well, I had that hobo thing too. But so I said, "Well, how the hell do you know if you don't need anything if you don't look?"
Right.
Boy, that hit him wrong. He's like, "Look. In 1 minute, I'll be dragging you out the door." I'm like, whoa, Joe, easy does it,
Fuck.
I said, I'm out of here. But I did go to one shop. A little funny story, and it's actually in my autobiography. But so I couldn't see anybody in the back. They couldn't see me. And the girl up front, young,
Don't
didn't
know, yeah.
didn't have a clue. I guess she goes in the back, and here I am with my old suitcases. I forget which one I had. I think I had that one. So she goes in the back and says, "There's an old homeless man out front with an old suitcase. He says he's selling books." So, now again, I didn't see anybody. They didn't see me. Well, the girl comes back. The guy, I forget his name now, but he says, "Just go out front, tell the old gentleman that we're all okay." So she comes out and says, "Oh, everybody's okay, sir." So I thought, cool, okay, because not everybody buys every time I go somewhere, I get a phone call. "Mr. Crowe, were you just at my shop?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think like 20 minutes ago." "Oh, you're not going to believe what happened. The girl went in the back and says there's some old homeless guy out front with an old suitcase, and, everybody just like, ah." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I feel homeless sometimes because I live in my car weeks at a time. That old suitcase, I've been offered $2,000 for it, so let her know that."
Yeah.
So,
The thing that kills you about that, though, is you would imagine, so when we came into the business, me and the other fellows I worked with, whenever somebody came in that was heavily tattooed, and again, this is early 90s, so it's like, when someone came in that was heavily tattooed, you immediately went out of your way. Like, I think we put people off because they weren't used to having somebody come up to them and ask them questions. I'm like, "Well, who did this? Oh my God, where'd you get this from? Oh, you got your hand tattooed? Who tattooed your hand?" So I think there was a generation of tattooers that were just, again, not because there was no internet, there was no immediate gratification of being able to see something. When someone came into your shop and you didn't have to go to a convention, how do you not take advantage of that? How do you not look at what they're going? And again, when an old dude walks in with a suitcase full of stuff that he says he's selling stuff, yeah,
I want to know what's
even
in
if he
that
was a
frickin'
fucking
suitcase.
bum, even if he
Hobo or
was
not.
a bum, how many times have you heard people picking up old Jonesies because somebody found them in some dude robbed a car, threw half the shit out, and most of it was fucking value,
Oh yeah, that's happened to me. Tattooing a kid. "I got a bunch of them motors in my garage." I said, "Well, send me a picture." So he sends me a picture, and Annette knows it was that 1919 J.G. Russell case.
It was amazing.
It's fucking incredible.
With, I think there were 20 machines, some all in boxes, brand new. Percy Waters, all kinds of stuff. And anyways, I said, "What do you want?" He says, "Well, I want X amount." I said, "Well, I'll throw in another couple of hundred if you box it up and ship it COD UPS." It showed up a week later.
That's amazing.
But it was because I took the time to talk to this kid.
Exactly. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that exist that still are out there, and they know the value of their elders.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had people come, when I was tattooing back in the 80s, sitting in my tattoo shop, a guy comes in, and I'm like, "Hey man, you talk to him. Well, how's it going?" And, he's like, "Oh, it's going good." He says, he says to me, "My uncle tattooed." Now, you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle rides motorcycles and he was in this world famous biker gang, Yeah, right, okay. So, but with me, when he said that, I said, "Oh, well, cool, man. Who was it?" "Johnny Walker. This is Johnny Walker's nephew."
Holy shit.
And we chatted it up all day.
Yeah.
And it's another time, guy comes in, "Oh yeah, my dad tattooed around here," and it was Leonard Rogers. So, I mean, and I get it with me, it's a whole different era. And what you were talking about, the older days when somebody walks
I think people just want, everything is taken for granted nowadays. What I mean? Annette made a comment earlier about how, hey, we're just gonna go out and find a shop we don't know about and just go and check it out, just for shits and giggles. I'll do it when I go to other cities. I was going through Dallas, and I was with Tom and Jackie Strong.
I do it every day.
Exactly.
On the road for 8 years now.
Well, it's funny to see that you're still doing it, because I know with me over the last 15 years doing it, it's a bit disheartening. Like going in and nobody even lifts their fucking head up.
Yeah, I've had that happen. They won't, and I've said this before, that The old days were eye to eye and a handshake.
Yeah.
Now, and yet people you looked up to. Now they don't look up. They're too busy looking at their iPad.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
they don't talk. They got headphones on. They don't want to hear you. They don't want any conversation.
And they usually hire in front people that have no fucking
Yeah.
clue.
And I mean, I've been to shops where, you know, they won't even look up. And I got PO'd at one time with this kid laying on the couch with a big gulp. I'm like, man, you know, next time somebody walks into your shop and tells you they've been tattooing for 50 years, you ought to get up off your ass, put your big gulp down, shake his hand, and tell him thanks.
Exactly.
You know, but it goes back to there's no heroes anymore. They don't look up to anybody.
I think the heroes are like more in the. I mean, again, there's many people out there in our business that still appreciate and admire that. But I think a lot of the kids that are coming into the trade today, unless they're brought in by those people, or they have a deep, just a want for knowledge, very few people are actually going to look at it from that perspective. They're just going to look at it and be like, whatever, I can get that on my phone.
Yeah, I see that because I'm going to the shops. I see the shops where they're truly interested.
Yeah, because I mean,
and
you
that
take
is heartening.
All the photos that I've seen you post on your Instagram and your social media, it's great to see. You can tell there's genuine, you know, surprise and admiration for the fact that you took the time to stop there and sell.
But you know, you see one picture
exactly
out of 10 shops that I've been to.
The joy of fucking social media. Every
So-
day, every day looks amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been to shops. I walk in, there's a picture of someone doing downward facing dog on the wall, you know, and I'm like, hey, they'll come out. I'm looking for the tattoo shop. Oh, you're in it. Well, damn, you could have fooled me, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I know now, like, what to look for before I go out of my way, but there are really some good traditional, solid young kids out
Most
there.
certainly, yeah. And like I said, it exists. It's just that I don't think it takes up the majority of the airwaves when it comes to the social media.
Yeah, and these kids are the ones, you know, I'm getting out, still on the road naturally, but you know, I'm promoting Norfolk to these young kids, to these shops, and I'm explaining to them how it was 30 years ago and 40,
Right.
and now almost 50 for me. But you young kids need to come to these shows.
Yeah.
You know, you
The
need
shows
to be
in town,
around.
yeah.
You know, go sit in Jack Rudy's booth at 10 o'clock when the machines wind down.
Yeah.
You'll look at your watch and go, damn, it's 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that's
You know.
those are the best hours.
Yeah, or buy Sean Anderson a beer.
And you'll be there all night.
You'll be in the bar with him all night, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what it's all about. And these kids, they get it.
Yeah.
And Richmond proved that.
Oh,
I think
so
you were there, and I
do-
didn't
so-
see you.
I do. No, I did see you. I do want to touch on all that. I do. I do want to go before we get on that though. I want to talk about the shops. I want to talk about what you brought to this area when you started opening up shops, because you were the one that broke ground on one of the neighborhoods where your shop is at. You know.
I sued the cities.
Exactly. So when did you start opening up shops in the area, and how many did you actually own?
Yeah, I started tattooing here, like I said, 74 really. I was broke in by this guy named Hal, who's passed away now. And a real good guy, tattooed out, came out of Albany, knew Spalding.
Right. Okay.
You know, worked up there in Albany, knew Huck personally. And so Hal gets, you know, because of the, back then, a lot of apprenticeships started just by sitting in a chair getting tattooed.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
that's where you started. To
You
get
became a
tattooed.
friend of the shop. You became a
Yes.
friend of the guy who's tattooing.
So that happened with Hal, and it happened with Danny Fowler, because it was Hal, illegal here, underground. Danny Fowler was the closest legal shop. in Richmond.
His original shop. His original shop was in Richmond. Okay.
So, and we eventually became partners. We started Ancient Art together.
Right. So I hadn't realized that. To be honest with you.
So anyways, Hal made a phone call to Spalding. I got in my car, drove up, met Huck. He was still tattooing in his kitchen back then. His tattoo shop, he moved Josie's car out of the garage, and that was his
Nice.
supply house in a 2-car garage.
Right.
And that was back in those days.
Right.
So, anyways, Forgot where we were going.
Well, so what was your first shop?
Oh, back to that. Okay, I know what I was getting at.
Okay.
The first years were underground, tattooed here. There was like 4 of us. You know, Doctor Who, myself, Charlie Bond, and Hal. And we kind of were all spread out. Doctor Who was in Portsmouth. I had Virginia Beach. Charlie was in Hampton area, and Hal had moved out.
So you got along with Hal, but did everybody get along for the most part?
Oh yeah. Because we were separated, you know, and there was so much business.
I would imagine in this area, especially because the military bases.
400,000 active military guys, and tattooing's illegal.
That's insane.
So, and by it was 82 when I opened up Ancient Art in Yorktown. It was counties, wasn't illegal at the time. So 3 of us opened up all within a month.
Oh wow! Okay.
Greg
once someone broke ground, everybody.
Yeah, Greg May comes down from Wisconsin. I don't know if you know that name.
I don't know.
Well, he come down. He was, working military outside of Great Lakes.
Okay.
And he went to Yorktown. Doctor Who went over to Isle of Wight, and I came right in a week later in Yorktown with Greg. And that, believe it or not, lasted 20 years.
That's fucking killer. That was all that small.
And I had opened over in Smithfield, Isle of Wight as well. So there were 4 shops.
Wow.
20 years.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Oh yeah, it was a goose that laid golden eggs.
Yeah.
Really.
Because that's nowadays. Shit, word gets out.
I think there's 75 shops now, easy around here.
That's incredible.
But so it lasted 20 years, but it ended up in 99. I had fired this guy, and he was just a real dumbass, But he thought he would be real cute and go and open up a body piercing shop and just call it Body Modifications, and figured he could tattoo.
Right, out of the back or
Yeah,
whatever.
no, up front.
Oh, just
You gave me a license, I'm modifying bodies, whatever. But that didn't last. But he got busted, and I'm like, oh shit, it's over now.
Now the word no.
Yeah,
It's gonna come
so
down.
before he could even get into the courtroom with it, I filed suit against Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, where Annette's shop is, to overturn that 50-year ban on tattooing.
Right.
So,
It literally only takes one person. I mean, they did it up north in Cape Cod when that was illegal for years.
they used my case.
Probably that would
They
actually
did.
make sense because somebody has to be the one to set the precedent.
Yeah, well, my case, both of them, cities went to the Supreme Court, and I won in both Supreme Court decisions. And I heard Massachusetts had used my case to help bolster their.
It was amazing to see how backward all that shit was back in the day too. Because
Yeah.
nobody had a clue as to what the hell they were doing.
Yeah,
Having been from New York and seeing it happen there.
They still don't.
No, they really don't. But that's name a health department that actually has their.
Yeah. Well, they're used to inspecting Chinese restaurants. Now they try to. They know what they're doing with
nail
tattoos.
salons, delicatessens,
Yes,
fish
hotel
shops.
rooms.
Yeah, exactly. It's frightening what these. They have such a grand scope of what's going on in the fucking world.
Yeah.
It's laughable.
So then it was when I came in here and Chesapeake, they shut the door behind me, which is something I didn't expect. I figured, oh man, this is it.
It's gonna open the floodgates.
I had 20-something years in the business by then,
Yeah.
it just changed again. It was like, now it's like, it took 15 years and there were only 8 shops in this area.
Dude, that is fucking unheard of. Because
Yeah.
when Mass opened up, it was just insanity.
Yeah. No, they kept it slow until, when I sold all the shops, they changed all of the regulations.
So you
It
got
made
out
it
before
easy.
time.
Kind of. Don't tell Annette that.
Wow.
But, yeah, it was tough. And then they just said, hey, look, you got been good boys and girls for 15 years. Just go, do whatever. So they took the regulations away.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah. And it went from that, was March 1. I think there were 8 or 9 shops. March 31, there were 29 shops, and now there's 79. Who knows?
That's incredible. Yeah,
But it's typical. The whole country is like that.
It's the whole country. It's at one point I was like, well, this is the worst type of business because there really is no thought as to the longevity of what we do for a living. You know what I mean? And a lot of people in the business tend to just forget everything that came before them. You know, now they call it gatekeeping, and I look at it as it's not gatekeeping. It's making sure that not only I, but the people that work with me and the people who have end up, and even the people that hate what we have to say, at least that there's something that there's gonna be something here for them when it's all said and done. You know, it's not a matter of keeping gatekeeping or keeping individuals out. It's a matter of just be smart about what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They're not that smart.
No,
They won't
apparently,
do it.
apparently, because everybody wants to be the one that feels that someone's keeping them down. Everybody wants to think that they got their thumb on everybody else.
Yeah. It's, again, if you look back, the business was so small back then.
Yeah, now it's a beast. Now it's an absolute beast.
I started the flash business back in the day when you had to have mailing lists.
Yeah.
My first mailing list, and this was 840 tattoo shops in the USA.
Yeah. Now you can do that in New York City.
Not New York City. It's probably 5,000. There's probably there's 50 or 100,000. That I could get. And
Right.
I know that it's got to be there anyways, because when I partnered with Huck, he was doing a mail, and he's, you got to get me this stuff. I'm doing print catalogs. He would print 80,000 catalogs and mail 40,000 out at one clip.
And that was
all
before,
his customers.
Yeah. And then once that came out, then he knew there was going to be more that were going to be.
Oh yeah, the rest of the catalogs were on the shelf, to be mailed out as you
called them in.
Yeah, inquired about his company. So, but anyways, it's gone nuts. It's insane. But I'm trying to with Norfolk, and what I did in Richmond was bringing it back.
So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, bringing it back.
This is the main reason I wanted to come out here, because last year, like you said, you teamed up with Jesse, and you got 30 booths, and you brought in nothing but great old school people. And I think my story on it was I was excited about it. I didn't want to work it. I had personal reasons. It had nothing to do with
I called you.
I know.
Yeah,
and I told you exactly what
exactly.
And I told you what my feelings were on it.
Yeah.
But I did come down on Saturday.
Well,
I did see it.
Your feelings weren't against me.
Not at all.
It was against the tattoo conventions
In
itself.
general.
Correct.
In general. And I am insanely happy to say that when I walked through those doors, and they made you walk upstairs, and the best thing about it was almost like an experiment. So you had to go upstairs to see all the younger tattooers, and you walked in there, and it was dark. Not even dark, but it was kind of dreary.
It was like a twilight zone.
Everybody's using rotaries. There's one or two guys using quarters.
Clean Rock and James Long.
Exactly.
The only two. And listen, I had them downstairs.
But they're ink masters.
Jesse commandeered them
to put
and run them upstairs. And I said, "Why are you doing that, man? This guy invited these guys.
These guys belong downstairs."
Yeah,
and that
Clean
sounds
Rock,
fucked.
anyways, because I invited Clean Rock. He came out because I had
Yeah.
picked up the phone and called him. But Jesse said, "Man, I got to get somebody upstairs."
And again, not to take anything away from the artists from upstairs.
No,
That's not my intention.
They're all great. They're so freaking good. The
Exactly.
thing is, how many different ways can you do a portrait of Elvis Presley? All their stuff looks the same. I don't care, I'm not ragging on you guys, but listen.
It's one of those things.
A rose is a rose is a rose, but
that's
not a traditional rose with a dagger through it.
Exactly. So that's the joy of having seen both sides of things. Because when you went upstairs and you walk through it, you go, "Oh, this is cool. This is cool. This is cool." And then again, having done Richmond back in the day, going down those stairs, you go down that little tiny hallway. There's that little short flight of stairs. There's the bar right there in the room for the tattooing. When you came around that corner and you heard the buzz of machines coming from that room, and then on top of that, you heard the chatter of everybody talking, and then you walked into that fucking room, and everybody standing around, and people were sitting in their booths, they got their head down, they're tattooing, and the buzz of fucking machines I was like, holy shit, this is just like it was back in the day. And it was like stepping back in time. And to have the comparison from upstairs to downstairs was incredible to see that, you know?
Yeah, it did. It showed you the deep divide that there is in tattooing today.
Right.
And there is a divide, and it's what's going on upstairs and what's going on downstairs. It's, you know, it was.
I think everybody was just so excited from back in the day to be part of something that is a reminder of what things used to be. And then you had a bunch of clients that used to come out and stop doing shows because of that. And then you had all these younger generation dudes that come in and they just want to see what that's like because they never got to experience it before.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds not even deep, but it sounds like it's heavy, but it's the truth. I mean, I think if you didn't ever know any better, then you'd never know things were broken.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, with Richmond, I did what I'm doing now. I was on the road. I was visiting tattoo shops, and I, would tell people this is a convention that you want to go to.
Yeah.
And it happened in Richmond. I mean, I'm pretty sure he at least doubled his door.
Right.
If not even more, because he counted 3-day tickets as one. He counted 2-day tickets as one.
Right. So you're not really.
Yeah. So the numbers,
And again, I know that there's something to be gleaned from bringing in a bunch of fucking ink masters. You're bringing in somebody who now is a judge on a show, and she's going to bring in a handful of people. My problem with that has always been, and again, it's a good way of a theory of running a business or running a convention because you are bringing people through the door. You'll bring in, like Kat Lundy's a perfect example. She'll bring in 10,000 people to visit her. Mm-hmm. And these people will literally pay admission, walk up, pay her fucking $100 to take a photo and an autograph, and then fuck right off. Yeah. It does nothing for the tattoo.
They're not interested in getting a tattoo from Brian Everett or Ken.
They don't even know that person exists, you know? So I think that while it is a good theme, it's a good way of running a business from that standpoint. I don't want any part of that type of shop.
It's. I mean, look. October 17th through the 21st, Norfolk Tattoo Expo.
Yeah.
You can go to the Norfolk Tattoo Expo. You can go to Nashville. You can go to Birmingham. You can go to out there in Colorado, at Colorado Springs. There's 10 other conventions going on the same weekend.
Exactly.
10.
There's no getting around that.
There's New Hampshire. It's nuts, And I don't, look, you can go back to Richmond 2019. Does anybody talk about it?
No. No offense to anybody who worked that show, but no.
No.
I mean, in all honesty, the reason why I stopped doing Richmond was I did it when Billy ran the show.
Right.
And then when he had passed and the other fellows took it over, Kenny and Jesse.
Well, Nate.
Oh, true.
CJ took it to the convention center.
I didn't do that either because it went from being in the hotel to the convention center. And you made a good point. This is something I've often said. The moment you walk onto the convention floor and there's a concrete floor, you fucking lost me. That's become a soulless show that all you're trying to do is fill it with booths. Yep. And unfortunately, that's not the kind of show I want to do.
Yeah, and the hotel shows were 20 years the same.
Yeah.
Nobody did a convention center.
Yeah.
Not in 88 or 93 or 96. They were all hotel shows. Small, packed, everybody did well.
To be able to go upstairs, like get tattooed, run upstairs, take care of what you got to take care of, come back down.
Yeah.
It's just nice.
Yeah. And Billy kept it going. Billy, I mean, he did a few, that 8th floor thing.
Yes.
Billy kept it going.
And it was weird.
Now you would talk about that.
Yes.
You would talk about Richmond,
whether it be out of admiration or absolute disgust.
Yeah, either way,
shit went down.
You still talked about it.
Most certainly.
Yeah. And so again, that's
when Billy got involved with Tony for Atlanta. He brought a little bit of that filth from that in a good way. It was a spark. It was something that Atlanta lacked, and when it all came together, it was just like, oh well, this is just like Richmond.
Yeah,
it's 4 months later. Like, yeah, we get together. It's the same group of people for the most part too.
Right.
similar hotel layout. It was killer. It was amazing. The early Atlanta shows were, I won't say
like the early Richmond shows.
Exactly,
Yeah.
they were fantastic.
Yeah. They were kissing cousins of shows, Anyways, and now hopefully, what happened in Richmond, it really did spark some life into the tattoo scene.
Yeah, for a particular audience in particular, yeah.
And I didn't want to do another one, really, but I had so many people, hey man, this was great, let's do it again.
Well, the fact that you are doing it, I'm glad that I get to take part in this one.
Yeah,
I'm excited about this.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah.
So 60 booths, about 60 booths.
Yeah,
I think I got
a little bit
64.
bigger than what the shows used to be.
Yeah, it's standard fare.
Yeah.
I had downstairs in Richmond, and even though I really had 32, I asked for 30, but the way it laid out, I got 32. But still, even other people around it, there was 50-something booths downstairs.
Right.
It was all the traditional guys,
Yeah.
that were down there.
And again, it was a palpable fucking feel when you walked into that room.
Yeah.
And just, I didn't get tattooed, I just hung around and talked to so many people. And it was amazing to see guys like Ed and, Jack and fucking
Charlie and Corey Miller and
it was incredible.
Ken Cameron.
Yeah, I haven't seen Corey Miller on the East Coast.
Dana Brunson.
Yeah.
These are guys that, were the staples of the 70s and 80s and into the 90s.
And it's nice too because like I've seen Dana overseas a bunch of times, and again, very rarely saw them here in the States. I think there was more of an appreciation for him over there than there seemed to be here because of the lack of just anybody knowing anything anymore, or a lack of putting a show together where enough of those people are there, which is what you've basically done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and this year, same thing. It's the same crowd. It's every one of those 30 booths, when I called them, they said, yep, I'm in.
Right. Yeah, because who wouldn't want to be part of that?
And I doubled it, so it's going to be another one of those great traditional take your band. This one I added Thursday. 4 days was the way it was from the 70s to 2002.
So do you know off the top of your head what time you're planning? Are you opening the floor on Thursday, or you're having a meeting of everybody on Thursday?
I'm hoping to have the floor done by like 4 or 5 o'clock.
On Thursday.
So
everybody.
So then it's artist to artist, and you can make all your arrangements. You want to get tattooed by Freddie Negretti, talk to Freddie.
You talk to him right then.
And if there's nothing going on Thursday night, if it's up to the hotel for one that make sure the room's empty for me.
Right.
And then it's up to the pipe and drape company to get it done.
Up and running, yeah.
But if nothing else, Thursday night, it was always with the old conventions, 4 days, Thursday. And Thursday was this like national again, suit and tie dinners on Thursday night.
Yeah, it was a bit bougie.
Yeah. But I just want to be in the bar and hang out,
One of the few shows, and I found out why they stopped the Thursday, and why they started opening later on Friday. They'd be like, people work on Fridays. I'm like, not the people who made appointments to get tattooed.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason is a hotel, you have to pay for the room an extra night. So a lot of times, instead of setting up on Thursday night, they just roll in first thing in the morning on Friday and then push their opening back until 3. But you're right, that first day is really where everybody's getting together, everybody's shaking hands, you're excited to see the people. Because you know as well as I do, come Friday, if it's a good show, if you're one of those people that's not going to just be milling around, catching up, you're going to be tattooing.
Yeah.
So Thursday night and every night after that, after the show, is going to be the night you're going to do all the catching up.
Oh, of course. Yeah, when the machines get put down every night.
Exactly.
I've been to 3 or 4 conventions in the past 3 or 4 weeks, and it was like by 9 o'clock I'm in bed.
Yeah.
Because nothing's going on. Everybody's scattered, you go on, there's 1 or 2 people up past 9 o'clock. Richmond, I didn't get to bed before 3:30 every morning because that place was alive, nonstop every night.
Everybody I talked to had nothing but amazing things to say about the show.
So hopefully, with the Thursday night thing, it's just the way it was, and it should be like it was, where you just hang out and look, you work all year.
Exactly.
Take a few days off, take a break.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a friggin' tattoo artist, you know. Take a break and come and hang out with these tattoo artists that have been doing this. You know, most of them are 40 and 50 years in the business, and well, a lot of them, but they're all solid, traditional.
I think a lot of younger tattooers, what they need to remember is the fact that, you know, conventions used to be about a collection of artists that you would never have the opportunity to sit down and talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was lost on a lot of younger generation, you know, mine included, where it wasn't enough to just go to the convention and see these people. You had to be part of it. And by being part of it, you had to have a booth. But the problem being is the moment you do that, you take away from the other end of things where you actually get to learn and see and watch and talk. And that's kind of the trade-off. And I think a lot of really young generations, they just don't care they don't care about that part of it. They just want to be part of the overall scene.
Yeah.
They want to be one of the old guys. And eventually we all get there. You know what I mean? Everybody, if you love this business and it's something that you feel that strongly about, you'll become the next old guy. But until then, don't forget the ones that are here now.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows, I mean, the way things have gone in the business, who knows how long it's going to last, you know? That sounded really fucking deep.
These guys,
dark.
These guys have, and I did it myself as a 20-year-old going to tattoo conventions. I would sit around and listen to stories. I would sit there with Jimmy Ray Smith, Danny Danzo, Bob Shaw, Burt Grimm, Colonel Todd, Leroy Minu, you know, all these old timers that I was looking at them as old. They weren't old back then.
Yeah.
But I would sit around and hear their stories.
Yeah.
Paul Rogers, you know. Now, these guys, they have no stories.
Yeah.
There's no stories nowadays. You know, the only thing you hear is what season they were on. You know?
Yeah.
They forget to tell you they were booted off #1.
Yeah.
But that's the stories you hear.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think
now,
the business is at a lack for characters.
In Richmond, a lot of people began to make their own stories.
Yeah.
They had something to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, and Norfolk, you can make another story.
Yeah.
So show up, hang out, like the old days, make it a pilgrimage. You know, make this the show you want to come to. And start making stories again. You know, you'll hear a bunch of them.
Oh yeah.
You know, you will
really
hear
looking
some
forward
stories.
Really looking forward to that. All right. Well, on that note, is there anything else you want to add, or besides get out to this convention? I'm going to put all the information for anything that JD has in the description below, and I also have a link to the website for the convention in Norfolk. Yeah, it's right around the corner practically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm super
weeks
jazzed.
away. So yeah, make your plans. The hotel's sold out.
Yeah,
I know that, but and it's crazy. It's one of the busiest weekends in town. There's a friggin' wine festival going on. There's all kinds. It's the most beautiful time of year to be in.
Oh, fucking the fall down here is
Yeah,
gonna be gorgeous.
and so it's busy, but you know, don't let that stop you. You know, get on a hotel search and find your room close by, and you know, Uber in and out of town. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I did the New York City show. You know, there's no parking. You
Yeah,
know, park
everything's
your
a nightmare.
freaking car.
It's $100 a day.
Yeah. Oh no, not when you got an XL SUV.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
no.
add it. You can double that
Yeah.
because you're taking up 2 parking places. But anyways, so I mean, people just made their way to the show, you know, and same thing with Norfolk. Just get there, find your place that's reasonable, or an Airbnb at this point. You know, if you're not already booked into the hotel, but once you're at the hotel, you can stay there as long as you want and hang out, and you won't miss a thing. You know?
Well, I'll be honest with you, man. I know that you said you were half over it last year when you did the convention. I'm glad that you're bringing it back, and I can only hope that if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else who brings it back and just keeps ushering the next generation and introducing them to the generation before.
Yeah, well, you know, I got partnered up with Mike Can this year, and Mike has been doing Virginia Beach and the Hampton shows.
Okay.
So, you know, he's got the machine behind him that's working.
Which is a good chunk of what things are nowadays.
And he's seen what happened in Richmond. So he wants to do it again.
Nice.
with his Hampton show and his Virginia Beach show. They're in convention centers. I'm not really interested in that.
Right.
You know, I'm working, maybe could pull something off in Hampton, but, you know, I'd like to groom him,
Yeah.
really.
I think
To
it's
keep
really,
this thing and get him introduced to all these people and, you know, get these people to support him in the show because, like to tune up a fishing pole soon and go fishing, you know. At the 50-year mark, it means something.
No, it should. Yeah,
So-
definitely.
But anyways, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity here. And,
Oh, dude, I appreciate you taking the time to sit, man. This was
Yeah.
this was tremendous. Just being able to talk to you beforehand and all this was fantastic. I really appreciate it.
yeah, great.
So, all right, cool. Thank you very much.
Hey, my friend.
Hey, everybody, thank you again for tuning in. Like and subscribe, and like I said, everything for JD, for Crowe, will be in the description below. So, see you when I see you.